I would like to call the Monday, June 2nd, 6:30 PM public hearing to order. This is a public hearing for Council Order 225-068 order, amending Housing Development Zone and Plan, abbreviations HDIP. Before we open up to the public, I'd like to let the public know this is initial discussion, first public hearing on this item. The public will be given another opportunity to be heard at a further date. No vote will be taken this evening on this item. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to Chief of Staff for the Mayor, Chris Walker. Go right ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Appreciate the time tonight, and it's a pleasure to testify in support of this map amendment to the city's Housing Development Incentive Plan Zone. The program, as we've discussed in previous meetings, provides state tax incentives and potentially local ones for the creation of new housing. It's a program that's open to all gateway cities in Massachusetts. That's about a dozen or so communities, and it's meant to sort of ease the burden for housing development in some of these places where development costs are much higher than other places. What's before the council right now is just a zone change. The current zone, this body may remember, was first created a number of years ago for a project in Quincy Point, which we used to great success to create what really became a model for this type of program across the state. A market plus affordable housing development in Quincy Point known as the Watson, and that's really been a tremendous success. What's before the council right now, as I mentioned, is the expansion of the zone that includes the property between Bergen Parkway and Granite Street, what is commonly referred to and what is known as the Grossman property. That is what is before this body right now. That property has also been subject to a planning board review and public hearing process relative to the development of 256 housing units with retail on the first floor. As I mentioned, the state program here is meant to incentivize housing development, and it certainly does that in this case. But in this case, it has the added component for Quincy of facilitating economic development in the terms of major retail component, the kind of retail that's at the core of what we're trying to do across the downtown, what we've been very successful in doing in the downtown over the last number of years. We don't do economic development in a vacuum, and the retail potential here is driving, at least in part, this amendment to the HDIP map. As Mr. Chairman discussed, this testimony is the beginning step of the conversation here. My understanding is the hearing is going to be continued until the 16th, and certainly open during both that meeting and any other time to answer any questions councils may have. But this testimony in support is in the administration's support of amending our HDIP district. Thank you very much.
I'm going to open this up to the public for public comment. You can go right to the podium. At this point, I'd like to ask anyone speaking to come to the podium, state your name and address, and go right ahead.
Good afternoon. My name is Kathy Thrun. I live at 234 Everett Street in Quincy. I'm talking to you about this ordinance or order because I do not know how the Grossman development is available or can be under the Housing Development Incentive Program. I'm questioning this because the other property that's quoted here on East Howard Street is the Watson Building, and that's affordable housing. When I read a newspaper article about the Grossman development, and I'll quote you here, asked if Grossman's would build affordable units or pay into the city's Affordable Housing Trust Fund, Schaas told the Patriot Ledger that city officials marked the trust fund as the preferred path for the city to meet its housing goals. So is this going to be affordable housing? Is this going to be medical offices? I'm just simply asking because I don't want to see any more tax exemption that's not for the residential property taxpayer. We're paying a lot already. We don't have a lean budget, and we have huge debt. Thank you.
Thank you. Before I get the next person up to wish, if anybody doesn't wish to speak and want to support or opposition recorded, there's a sign-in sheet in the back table in the back of the chambers. Go right ahead.
Can you hear me? Just want to make sure. Okay, my name is Virginia Ryan, and I live at 89 Albrook Road in Quincy, Mass. I stand before you speaking as a concerned taxpayer and resident of Quincy. I am concerned that the mayor is going to grant tax-exempt status again for another developmental company for 20 years. This tax-exempt status is contingent upon a portion of the apartments being affordable. Granted, we do need affordable apartments, but the city is currently in the hole for $1.5 billion. And it seems that every time a vote comes up for a new development, new spending, the citizens only hear that the city council votes unanimously for yes. Are we, the citizens, actually being represented by the duly elected council every time the vote is yes? I think not. Yet the council doesn't bat an eye when money is stolen from the pension fund, when the manager of the Elder Services Program is indicted of embezzlement and fraud, or when proper protocol is not taken when procuring funds for the religious statues. City Council was elected by the registered voters of Quincy to represent us. Stop burdening the taxpayers and instead start representing us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name's Jocelyn Sedney. I live at 85 Monroe Road here in Quincy. I'm glad to hear that this is not the end of the discussion on this matter, because I think it bears, what actually calls for some real investigation and reading by each council member, and I hope that you all take advantage of doing that. Number one, I think that this whole program initiated by the state and hinges on the qualifications of the applicant. In other words, Quincy has to be a gateway city to qualify for this program. And Quincy has been designated as a gateway city in the past. But I would suggest that Quincy no longer qualifies as a gateway city. It is no longer like Brockton, Chelsea, Lynn. There are three different reasons why a municipality qualifies. One, they have to be under 250,000 people. That's us. Two, the median household income of the city has to be less than the state average, and unfortunately that's true. But third, the educational attainment has to be lower than the state's. And basically that means that the average number of people who have attained a bachelor's degree in the municipality has to be lower than the number average in the state. And we fall below that. And we fall above that, I should say. More people in the state, in the city of Quincy, on average, have bachelor's degrees than they do in the state of Massachusetts. So it would mean we don't qualify as a gateway city. But second of all, I think it's really, really important to look at the reason why this program was created. It was created to catalyze private housing development in gateway cities. Now, the Grossman Project, we call it the Grossman Project, but the Grossman Entity Project has already been approved. It's going to be 200 and some apartments that are going to be luxury apartments. They're not market value, they're not workhouse housing, it's not affordable housing. They're luxury apartments. There's supposedly going to be a pool, there's going to be an exercise facility, and there's going to be significant commercial development. Now, Grossman Companies has already said that they're going to move their offices to that location, and that they are going to bring in significant commercial enterprises. Now, P.J. Foley at the Planning Commission, God bless him, said to the Grossman Companies, well, are you going to bring in commercial entities like that are there now, like TJ Maxx, the dollar store. That, he said, a lot of people shop there. It's a very, very popular shopping area. They said, oh no, we don't plan on bringing in that type of development. We're bringing in commercial development, commercial entities that are going to appeal to the type of people who are going to rent our apartments. So to say that we need to do this to drive economic development is simply not appropriate. This project has been approved. Grossman companies are well on their way. They have it all figured out in terms of the commercial development. There's a thriving commercial development there right now that apparently we're not going to have anymore, that we're going to have to find ways to shop other places. So that this project, as one of the other speakers says, could not qualify for this program, and it should not qualify for this program. This program is meant, and if you look up, if you do just a little bit of research, you'll see that the program was not intended to benefit entities like the Grossman companies, because the benefit is all taxes. The program is comprised of two different conditions. One is that the local municipality has to negotiate with the developer a reduction in local taxes before you can even get the program can go forward. There has to be, it's called a tie agreement. The mayor, in fact, the order that's before the council asks the mayor to ask that the mayor have permission to negotiate with the Grossman companies for a reduction in property taxes. And that has to happen in order to take advantage of this program. So there's got to be an agreement with the municipality relieving a percentage of property tax for a certain parcel. So in order for this to go forward, you vote for this. You vote for a reduction in property taxes for the Grossman companies that are going to build this huge complex, over 200 luxury apartments, significant commercial enterprise for them, and they deserve and they need a reduction in their local taxes in order to promote economic activity. They just spent $40 million to buy the property across the street. This area is not an area that is one that was intended to be benefited by this particular program. Now, the second component of the program, once the municipality gives relief for property taxes to the entity, then if that's approved by the state, the entity then becomes eligible for, here it is, once a project becomes certified, it becomes eligible for tax credits per project, this is through the state, per project of up to $2 million. So this is a windfall for the Grossman companies. They get the benefit of a reduction in local property taxes, and then they get tax credits from the state of potentially up to $2 million. That's what's going on here. This is not a project as the ones that have previously been approved in this city. If you look at the purpose of this program, it says here, the HDIP leverages a tremendous amount of private investment and creates much-needed missing middle housing with price points lower than Metro Boston. Is that what this project is? No. This project is one to provide luxury housing with significant high-end commercial development. It's morally wrong for the city of Quincy to try to move this development project into a system where the project developer is going to get this type of investment. This is not a situation where the developer is saying, oh no, I'm not moving in there, it's too risky, I can't do it without these benefits. That's over. They've already moved in, bought the property, have the plan approved. This is not the type of project that should be approved. It's morally wrong. Thank you.
Seeing no further public comment, I will continue this public hearing until June 16th. I'm going to say 6:30 PM, so we're going to continue this. No written correspondence have been received by the clerk of committees for this item. Before we go into closing the public comment, I'd like to let everybody know this is our first public hearing on this item. A second public hearing will be scheduled for Monday, June 16th. This item will remain in Ordinance Committee for further deliberations. Thank you. I would like to call the Monday, June 2nd, meeting of the Quincy City Council Ordinance Committee to order. It is now 6:46 PM. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Counselor Ash. Counselor Kane. Counselor Campbell. Counselor Devine. Counselor Leanne. Counselor Harris. Counselor McCarthy. Counselor Minton. Chair DeBona.
Present.
You have a quorum.
We have a quorum. We have 6 members here. I'd like to read into the open meeting law. Pursuant to the open meeting law, any persons may make an audio or video recording of this public meeting or may transmit the meeting through any medium. Attendees are therefore advised that such recordings or transmissions are being made, whether perceived or unpermissible, by those present and are deemed acknowledgeable and permissible. The matters before us for this evening council orders is 225-058, the ordinance amending zoning section 8.5 transit-oriented districts. Also, 2025-068 order amending housing development zone and plan, which is our HDP that we were just talking about. Okay, I'd like to open it up to our Chief of Staff of the Mayor, Chris Walker. Go right ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Following up on the HDIP presentation, this is similarly an effort to protect, enhance, and save for the future our economic development potential as a community. As everyone in this body knows well aware, what's going on in Boston and a lot of other places around the country, that the office market in this world has changed dramatically. In an effort to maintain the sizable amount of taxes we receive in these 2 particular districts, Crown Colony and around the North Quincy T Station, the administration, together with Councilor Devine and through discussions with a number of other councilors, is proposing this expansion of the existing TOD districts that exist around both Crown Colony via the Quincy MBTA station and North Quincy to include those districts in the TOD zone. This is an expansion that will cover both Crown Colony Park and a number of parcels around the North Quincy T station. This matter has been unanimously approved recommended by the Planning Board. And with us tonight is Deputy Planning Director Rob Stevens to give a brief further overview of the amended districts. So with that, with your permission, Mr. Chairman, I'd hand it over to Rob.
Go right ahead, Mr. Stevens.
All right, great.
Thank you.
Good evening, councilors. Great to be here again with you tonight on a lovely night. It must be the weekday. We got sun and not the weekend. So I'm here. It's the second time I'm giving the presentation. When it comes to zoning changes by this body, the Planning Board fulfills a role of reviewing that zoning change, holding a public hearing, and issuing a report. We did that a few weeks ago. Went ahead and did issue that report to this body tonight. When I started with the Planning Board, I'll start here as well. You got to go down into a little bit of a time machine. We're talking about TOD, so that's transit-oriented development. Here in Quincy, we have 4 subway stations, but those stations haven't always been there. In fact, back in the 1950s, when the Southeast Expressway opened, passenger rail service ended for the city of Quincy at that time. It took a number of years, and the acts of 1967 up at the State House created the expansion of the Red Line subway into the South Shore. From there, the MBTA began land takings and the development of the Red Line in Quincy. It included JFK, obviously that's in Boston, but we've got North Quincy Station, we've got Wollaston, and then Quincy Center was the last station on that stop. Fast forward an additional 10 years, and the MBTA came in and constructed the Red Line Station in Braintree, and then they backfilled the Red Line Station at Quincy Adams. Now, I give you that brief history because both of those districts, we're here tonight looking at North Quincy and at Quincy Adams. We're not here talking about Wollaston or Quincy Center because the administration has adopted urban renewal districts for those two station areas. So for North Quincy and Quincy Adams, we've used the zoning mechanism to do that. Now, part of the history or the time machine, here's a late picture we've had in the office, funded a flyover back in the late 1970s. So you've got the rail line has been extended into North Quincy. We've got one of the office buildings on Newport Ave. There's 3 there now. You see the large State Street complex, but that whole development, that roadway into that development, stops. We know there was subsequent development that has occurred. You do kind of right in the dead center is the Quincy, North Quincy Station. It's surrounded by surface parking. Now, in 2016, the city adopted the original TOD district we're looking to expand here tonight. And North Quincy looks a lot different today. We do see the full development of the State Street complex, and we also see the development that was spurned by that original adoption of the TOD zoning, which is the 600 units plus the 50,000 square foot of retail that today is anchored by the Target store. We also see in this picture just west of the train tracks, but not crossing Newport Ave, you see the 3 office buildings there, 100, 150 Newport, and 200 Newport Ave. All 3 of those buildings were constructed over 40 years ago. So those 3 structures are now, we believe, getting a little bit tired. So with the success of the North Quincy original TOD district, we're looking to expand it to the other side of the tracks to pick up those 3 commercial properties. The second area we're looking at tonight is Crown Colony, and this one's a very fascinating picture. Again, late 1970s from the flyover. It's more of what you don't see. So you don't see any Crown Colony. For folks that don't know, that used to be a gravel operation. So you see an open pit gravel operation. There were no Crown Colony on-ramps or off-ramps to the highway. Highway access for Quincy Center came through Quarry Street to the Furnace Brook Parkway on-ramp and off-ramp that you can see at the very top of the picture, that large roundabout. Another interesting piece on this picture that is related but not fully related would be some of the Willard Street development and the National Fire Protection Association development. And here's what that looks like today. We do see a fully developed Crown Colony, although there are 2 sites undeveloped up in there, but a lot of the roadway and the infrastructure is developed. You can see in the top left picture, you do have that National Fire Protection and the Willard Street area development. Sort of the bottom right, we've got the Quincy Adams Station, we've got the Home Depot. And there's a number of other accessory developments that have occurred just outside of the office park. Looking through our department records, we found the development of that gravel pit into the office park. There's some program material here to try to support that. As I look at that image, it dates from 1984. It's still good today. This location, the geography of it has not changed. It's still at the intersection of 3 interstate highways. It's still at the intersection of the Quincy Adams T Station. So it's really, and we've got some other area attractions, to Cape Cod, obviously Logan Airport. Very fascinating. And another piece I saw, and I'm just sharing with you and the public is, they did do some modeling of what Crown Colony could look like. And at least the first phase of development, you can see in there on Crown Colony, the 3 buildings that all look similar. That's what it looks like today. Some of the hotel is over a little bit. That's the elevation apartments, but really kind of neat to see some of the material. And then fast forward 30 years, and that's where the planning was done back then. So I did find another more updated picture than the late 70s. And this one's important because you can see the development of that Crown Colony. So the state made the investment of constructing the Quincy Adams T Station. They've made the investment of creating the Crown Colony interstate off-ramps and on-ramps. And that also, for folks that don't know, necessitated the need to develop the entirety of Bergen Parkway down to Granite Street. And then another sort of added benefit to that infrastructure investment, in the 1990s, the Army Corps of Engineers came through and did the Town Brook flood control using these conveyance systems. So it's really a fascinating story of this area. I did go back and capture a little bit more of the timeline related to the zoning. So from the gravel pit, that is a heavy industry use. This area is zoned for both Industrial A and Industrial B, and that still stands today. So we've got the investment of the Quincy Adams Station. I think the folks running the gravel operation said is a higher and best use is something else than gravel pit. So a subdivision application was approved in 1984. What a subdivision application does is it lays out the roads, and from there, further subdivision of parcels. But the subdivision was the first piece on Crown Colony, and that triggered 9 projects to get constructed between 1984 and 1990. It would appear there was a brief pause for a few years, and then another 5 projects, including the Marriott Hotel, were developed up till 2000. At that point, I do believe the traffic, vehicular traffic coming out of the park, created chronic congestion. It was at that time that the late Mr. Flatley invested into some traffic studies, and he donated some land for the benefit of creating a Crown Colony on-ramp. So in 2009, the state funded about $18 million to construct the new Crown Colony sort of slip lane, as you see down in Center Street. And internal to Crown Colony is a new on-ramp directly into the interstate system. That seemed to alleviate a lot of the traffic congestion of the offices, that had that 9 to 5 sort of, operation, so a rush in the morning and the rush in the afternoon. And after that system was updated and improved, we had another 2 projects come forward in Crown Colony. One of them was the BJ's Wholesale Club that replaced the old printing press. And the second was the Elevation Apartments, which was residential. We worked with both of those developments. They both had MEPA responsibilities, which is they were big enough to require some state permitting. But I would point out to the councilors, those were the first developments that were not strictly office, 9 to 5. And I believe that park, both sites have been very productive. I think BJ's is a popular store, and I do believe the Elevation Apartments are, have a healthy occupancy to them. Before I jump one more, I did add 3 additional projects also occurred just outside of Crown Colony. I would say those would be the Lowe's Improvement Center, another retail. We've got Deco Apartments, another residential. We do know Lowe's didn't make it at that site, and it's now been acquired by the Commonwealth for the MBTA bus barn. And then the third use would be the storage facility over behind the Quincy Adams T Station. Okay, so the zoning that we're here to discuss tonight was first introduced to this body in 2016. The state at that time made a big push to look at land area around T-stations, and they issued a request for development proposals for the North Quincy MBTA site. And that did generate interest. And in order to, we discussed how do we better, best receive the type of development on T-stations. Mixed use is the market is demanding more of that, moving residences with retail, with businesses. So the city had proposed to develop this overlay district just for primarily the North Quincy station site. It did come up to Squantum Street, so that included the fire station and I think an old gas station, and there's an office building with a fast food restaurant out front. That was the original district, and from there we were able to permit the mixed-use development we see there today. So the overlay district does encourage mixed use. It also identified the planning board as a special permit granting authority. So this was a role the board has taken on since the adoption of the urban renewal plans. In a way, I look at it as almost like a expedited permitting, but having the board manage just the site plan to the floodplain permits. The planning board, we have the benefit of utilizing independent engineering peer review on projects, and we really take a look at the totality of the site. We support a lot of the housing and infrastructure programs. So at that time, the council did see the benefit of identifying the planning board as that special permit granting authority, and that is in place. The minimum lot size, or some of the dimensionals, we have a 1 acre minimum lot size. Height is 8 stories. And we also introduce shared parking, and that goes with, there are daytime needs for parking and there's overnight needs for parking when you introduce residential into a mixed-use, business or retail area. So that was adopted in 2016. Fast forward to 2022, and the city had a brownfield site located down on Center Street that was taken by tax title, and there was some development interest in that area. So this TOD overlay district was expanded down to Center Street, again, being just minutes to the highway. The industrial use is not the highest and best use in that area. So with that rezoning, a new multifamily, I think it's 288 unit multifamily development is now under construction in that location. At the time, because the Crown Colony area was sort of master planned, we did not extend the district into that area. And these are what those two original boundaries look like. On the left is the North Quincy station area. There is a small sliver, and that's the area at the bottom left. The MBTA, that's a remnant of the acquisition parcels to build the rail system. They've repaved that, and it's like a strip of parking, so that was included in that TOD. And then on the right, the long straight angle to the right is Center Street. So that sticks into some of the properties that have access off of Center Street without going into the Crown Colony area.
Give you a recess, but we're going to allow you to finish, and the councils will have an opportunity, but we have to recess and get into our regular scheduled meeting. We're just over just by a little bit, okay? So I'm going to put this into recess. We'll come back, and the councils have an opportunity to speak, okay?
Great, thank you.
Thank you. We call the Monday, June 6, 2025 City Council meeting to order. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Counselor Ash. Counselor Campbell. Counselor Devine. Counselor DeBona. Counselor Harris. Counselor Liang. Counselor McCarthy. Counselor Minton. President King.
Present.
7 members, you have a quorum.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Would everyone please stand to observe a moment of silence? Please use this moment as you will. Please turn to the flag for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, before we go back to the Ordinance Committee meeting, we have special guests here tonight in the Girl Scouts. And Counselor DeBona will be honoring them this evening. Do you want to go up to the, okay.
Thank you, President Kane, and tonight is a great night. Over the years, the Girl Scouts have been a very integral part of our community here in Quincy with all their leadership out in the community. They've done a great job. We've had them in the chambers over the last few years, and I just want to thank them for all their consideration and what they do in the community. You really make us proud up here at the City Council. There's a couple different awards here, Silver Award recipients, as well as the Gold Award recipients. It's a period positive project that they did, and their goal is to raise awareness and promote period positively in their community, which they obviously do daily on a daily basis. So we want to thank everybody for coming in tonight. Always put a nice big smile on our faces. So we're going to start off with the presentation, and the girls can come right up here and stay up here with us, and I'll give you the thing. So in recognition of receiving the Girl Scouts Silver Award, through and through their project, the period positivity, you tackled the stigma around menstrual and raised awareness about period poverty through education, advocacy, and creative outreach. Your work sparked important conversations with the community leaders and school leaders, and your courage, compassion, and dedication to creating lasting change truly embody the spirit of the Silver Award. And I want to congratulate you all on a job well done. And we're going to start off with Michaela Joyce. Michaela. There you go. Olivia Batistas. I said that right. Samantha Boyle. And Therese San Jose. Can we give them a round of applause for all their hard work? Why don't you stay up here and we'll give the gold awards up, and they'll stand over here, I guess. Okay, thank you so much. In recognition of receiving the Girl Scout Gold Award through the project You Can Be UV Safe, you're educated in community on dangers of skin cancer and the importance of sun protection. Your sun safety pamphlets and UV-sensitive bracelets encourage regular sunscreen use, and the impact of them will continue through your high school's health program. Your dedication to the public health and community education exemplifies the spirit of the Gold Award. Congratulations on a job well done. And we have Madeline Yang. And Rue Lee. We also want to thank all the volunteers that have really helped us over the years. I see a lot of familiar faces. If anyone wants to come up and speak, if not, we'll just take some photos and yeah, come on up. Yeah, come on up to the podium, right here. Thank you. Thank you.
My name is Gail Spring. I'm a 25-year volunteer with Quincy Girl Scouts. Love these girls. What we failed to mention was that Rue did a different project, and a lot of children, do you want to tell them or do you want me to tell them? Okay. So a lot of children can't afford music lessons, and Rue taught music lessons to children that were interested in music but couldn't afford it, and she took children that hadn't even learned FACE, Every Good Boy Deserves Fudge, didn't even know that. And she got them to learn how to play the cello, and she also got them to join an orchestra. So I didn't want it to be said that Rue did the same project. Also, we have Maddie Yang, was a national delegate and attended convention at Girl Scouts, trying to breathe, Girl Scouts of USA and International. And so Maddie went to Florida, and she represented us, as well as Donna Yang, who's also a national delegate. So Quincy's been very involved, and I just wanted people to know that we are in the upper level of Girl Scouts. And I'm so proud of these
All
girls.
right, thank you.
So President Kane, whenever you want.
Yeah, why don't we thank you, congratulations, thank you for being here. We're so proud of you. You represent the city so well. Why don't we adjourn this portion of the meeting? We'll take pictures with all of you in the well, and then we'll take it from there.
We're back into our Ordinance Committee meeting. I want to thank the Girl Scouts for coming in. Really appreciate that. Mrs. Stevens, we'll go right back to you and go right into it, and then we'll open it up to the counselors for any questions or comments.
All right. Great. Those are nice moments when we get to recognize the young folks in our community and all their hard work. Good stuff. Excellent. Well, thank you. I believe I left off on this slide, which is the two existing districts side by side. The one on the left is the North Quincy Station. The one on the right is the Center Street TOD district, with that long straight line to the right being Center Street to help orient you to the image. Now, what's before the council at this point is the expansion of the North Quincy district. So this would be the new map for that North Quincy area. We'd pick up the 3 commercial properties. There's actually a 4th property, but it's owned by the MBTA. It's part of their substation electrical components. But it would essentially put in, let's see here, 150 Newport Ave, which was originally constructed in 1972. It's 53 years old. 100 Newport Ave, constructed in 1980, 45 years old. And 200 Newport Ave, constructed in 1985. Okay. The next image is the proposed district expansion into the Crown Colony area. Now, this expansion would include all of what is commonly referred to as Crown Colony. It would add 16 parcels into this overlay district. So that would provide a mixed-use zoning district for new projects to come forward in this area. It's currently zoned industrial. Now, I mentioned in my opening remarks, the planning board did receive this presentation a couple of weeks ago, and they issued a report. There's one recommendation that they do suggest is The original Center Street TOD district was named the Center Street TOD district. This proposed one is Crown Colony. They will have a common boundary. So the board recommended if this body wants to move forward with the zoning amendment, that it be called, the districts be combined and be called the Quincy Adams TOD district for both areas. And from there, the board voted unanimously to issue a report recommending approval or adoption of the ordinance. And that would be the conclusion of my presentation, and I'm available for any questions you folks may have.
Stevens, for your presentation tonight and in detail. Thank you for the aerial shots, and we really appreciate seeing that. Thank you. I'm going to open this up to the councilors. Do you have any questions or concerns? I'd like to, Chair recognizes Councilor Devine.
Thank you, Mr. Stevens, very much for coming in tonight. This is extremely important, I think, to our residential side, because a few of those buildings have recently sold for a small fraction of their cost, which will mean that our commercial base will start to slide, and that's going to put a burden on our residential tax. If we can get a few of these buildings to be more exciting and retail and people living up there, the other properties will bounce back, hopefully, and maybe accelerate past where we're at now, so we can get some more commercial real estate, commercial taxes, so we can reduce the burden of residential taxes. So I'm really excited for this. I don't know why we didn't do it when we worked so hard a year and a half ago when we did the regular TOD. It just seems to make sense. So I am very much looking forward to it, and I hope that this is going to be a positive monetary for us as a city. Thank you.
Any other councilors? Chair recognizes Councilor Ash.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Stevens, thank you for the presentation. If we're looking at the development timeline, it says you put here currently zoned industrial A and B, prohibits residential use. With respect to the elevation apartments, is that solely that parcel zoned differently, or how does that exception to industrial A and B work?
Right. So as elevation needed, both the planning board and the zoning board to work together. The zoning board issues variances. There's two major categories of variances. One is dimensional variances, variances on height or setback or those types of things. The second type of variance is use variances. So after the proponent went through the MEPR ENF process, it went through and then was scoped to do a EIR, an environmental impact report. And prior to filing with the planning board, they appeared before the zoning board and received a use variance to construct residential in an industrial zone.
Okay, and that'd be the same, I assume, with the condos up there, right?
Correct. In the very beginning, I think when the park was laid out, they wanted to seed some initial residential to get, constructed and get that cash flow going. Correct.
When we're talking about the TOD district expansion, I know Councilor Devine's introducing it. He just commented on taxes and an aerial view. But is there, and when I looked earlier this weekend, rather, at Chapter 375, 8.5, while there have been a number of amendments, then they were not the easiest to rectify. I would like to be clear for the public and for the council, if we are voting on the TOD overlay, does this overlay contain any, say, tax incentives or any tax breaks for anybody?
No, they do not.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Ash. Chair recognizes Councilor McCarthy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good evening, Mr. Stevens.
Good evening.
Kind of going down the same avenue as Councilor Ash. First of all, the presentation was great, Rob, and it was it's funny to look at the late 70s and, what it is today, especially Crown Colony, when there was nothing up there. But those were all old industrial areas besides Crown Colony, which there wasn't anything up there. But the North Quincy area was all industrial. To revitalize it by being able to have mixed use, I think is great. And I know that Councilor Devine was pushing for the Center Street area, very positive about it. And when you look at the areas that, that have been selected in regards to the transit oriented area, it makes a lot of sense to be able to utilize it so much more, especially when I look at that Crown Colony area, which looks like it's going to be really one big area, but there's still, a lot of growth that could happen up in that area in regards to this mixed use. So it's, I think it's good all the way around. I think the areas that you've looked at, the work that you've done, it all makes sense in regards to that residential and commercial mix. So I'll be in favor of it all. Thanks, Rob.
Right.
Chair recognizes Councilor Campbell.
Hello?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you so much, Rob, for coming in. I apologize, I came in a little late here, so if you covered something already, forgive me. I was just curious. I grew up on Center Street, and that was Dirt Bike Alley back in the day. That whole area, we would always get our legal dirt bikes down there, and we had some fun. It was an awesome place to grow up and to watch the development over between Raytheon and then the Quincy Adams T Station, and then just the little additions everywhere. I think that the work that's being done on Center Street down near Joe's, Monty's, the Monty area, that would climb all over those. So it's great to see that. And I think that this addition is really the best move that can make it, the best use for the land possible. Do you have an idea of what types of condos, apartments, and like I said, you may have already gone over this, condos, apartments, the makeup of it and how it would work? Is there a target kind of group that you're going after? Is it rentals? Is it buy?
Right. Well, with any, zoning change, we're trying to encourage, a reaction from the development community. As I look at it, the version in the 1980s, office park 9 to 5, I believe a lot of those buildings had cafeterias in them. So those workers, and I think a daycare was a big feature of the original development. So drop your kid off at 9, go to work, and don't leave the building all day. Have lunch at the cafeteria, grab your kid on the way out. I think today's workforce needs something more. I don't think there's enough workers up there to support cafeterias, so there's no food options up there. I think we could see a run on some food service. I think some personal service. I know when I'm up there, I always see folks walking around, the sidewalk. I think, there's some, an introduction of real, office, retail, and bringing in apartments, condos, all different types. The original condos, I believe Councilor Ash mentioned, they were more like townhome condos, where the elevation apartments are more 6-7-story apartments. So sure. I think we'll see a mix. We do get a sense that home ownership is on the rise. We're starting to see a little bit more interest in constructing condos. Of course, condos and apartments are more or less permitted the same way. It's usually, we try to push back on the developers to, declare what they plan to do, because we're either going to deal with an owner of apartments, or we're going to deal with a condo association on operation things. But I think just being flexible. I know when I look up there, you see tremendous amounts of surface parking lots. So that's one of the worst, uses of land. So there's an awful lot of surface parking lots. They're empty an awful lot too. So I even see, it's 16 parcels. We may even see some subdivisions now, minimum 1 acre under the zoning, but some of those parcels are 10, 12 acres. So it'll be an interesting journey, I think the city will embark on, to see the, reinvestment back into this Crown Colony area.
Is there any highway action being considered? Is there any off-ramps, on-ramps
Nothing new. What we're taking a close eye at is TDM measures, and I believe that TDM is Transportation Demand Management. So what do folks do to encourage that transit use? But we believe Crown Colony already operates a specific shuttle bus, and perhaps that becomes its own service to all of the properties versus, only funded by a few. But whether the city, as the park redevelops or reinvents itself, can participate, remains to be seen. We're ready, willing, and able to pursue, grants and those types of fundings. I would note that when the park was originally laid out, and I discovered this through the review of the elevation apartments, is a lot of the stormwater drainage was it was almost over-engineered. So a lot of that is some of the concern we may have a redevelopment, the subsurface, the water, I don't really have that concern up in this area.
That's great. I'm excited. I hope very much that we get to move things forward, so thank you.
Excellent. Great, thank you.
Thank you. I want to go back around the well to Councilor Devine. Chair recognizes Councilor
Harris
Devine.
want to go first? Harris can go first, yeah.
No, go ahead, go ahead.
No. Let me go.
We're talking about Crown Colony right now, right? So
Okay, all right.
Let's,
We'll go. Chair recognizes Councilor
My
Devine.
turn, again. You got me confused a little bit now. I forget what I was going to say. No, not really. When I'm up there, it's, you mentioned people walking around. There really is not much to do up there. Just my basic thoughts is that I see that as like Derby Street on steroids, basically similar stores to that, but then with living upstairs, but not all of them. Hopefully that just a couple of these buildings will be changed, and that will entice enough people to come and save these other big buildings that are empty, because it's a ghost town up there. And then if we can get all those people back in, we're going to have, hopefully we'll get some meal taxes, maybe some liquor taxes from them. The other thing is that none of this traffic will have to go through the neighborhoods. Where literally, you don't even have to leave Crown Colony to get out, and then if you're coming in and out in certain areas, you really just have to go by BJ's. So I don't see any real disruption to the residents in Ward 4. Since COVID, it's been quiet up there. There used to be a lot of traffic from there. It's not there anymore, and it'd be nice to have a buzz going on there. So just when you were asked about, what it's going to look like, I don't know what it's going to look like, but that's just what I see. And so somebody else mentioned earlier in the public meeting about losing some of the stores because of Grossman's. Maybe some of those smaller stores will add to what we might lose from that Grossman project. So once again, very excited about it. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Councilor Harris.
Hi, Rob, thank you. Thanks for your presentation. I'm just going to just say one thing, because I know the North Quincy project is mentioning in this project. There was nothing, I remember there was a lot of anxiety that took place and a lot of talk, a lot of debate when we were talking about North Quincy. That North Quincy project changed the face of what was a tired area, a congested area, to a beautiful, and there's nobody that can argue that, what's going on in the North Quincy project. And that what happened, and adding to the North Quincy project, the more people we can get off the roads and into the MBTA, the better. And and again, with everything that'll probably go around the project, I know that the intersection, for instance, just at North Quincy was just so upgraded that it isn't the headache that it used to be. And it's a cleaner, safer, vibrant project that happened. And if I was in the Crown Colony area, I would be excited about that project very much so. And I think I know there's always a disruption, but it goes by, time goes by, and all of a sudden you look at it and you say, wow, I can't even believe that I never thought I was going to be alive to see that project come to this point. And so I'm thrilled. I like what I hear. I'm interested to hear more what's going on. So thank you to the board for doing their diligence, and thanks. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Chair recognizes Counselor Ash.
Thank you. Sorry for to circle back, but I guess since everyone kind of talking in, I want to say hypotheticals, but maybe generalizations a bit. I've worked in Crown Colony now for about a dozen years. We had offices in 300, 400, and now 1,200. And probably 10 years ago, you would see at 4 o'clock the cars that would go all the way up the hill, right? And you would wait until everybody got out so that you could get out and not have to sit in a half an hour of traffic. Now, I mean, everyone's right, it is a ghost town. I don't know that you see me walking around, but I probably should be on my lunch. But it is a ghost town up there. I mean, my office is one of the only office buildings that has tenants outside of Arbella. And we only recently, at 1,200, owned by Fox Rock, started to see the offices fill up so much so that the landlord could substantiate a cafeteria. So I do think it sounds like a great plan. As somebody who's been up there for over 10 years, it sounds like the logical next step. So I just wanted to voice that as well. Thank you.
Great. Any other councilors? Mr. Stevens, I want to thank you for your discussion tonight and giving the public an opportunity to digest this a little bit. Like I said at the beginning of the meeting, there's going to be no votes tonight. We'll continue both of these, and they'll remain, both of these, in the Ordinance Committee for further consideration on a later date. There'll be a public hearings for both items on Monday, June 16th. We'll allow the public and everyone to allow that. At this point, I'd like to close the ordinance meeting at 7:32 p.m.
Okay, back to the regularly scheduled council meeting. Madam Clerk, I don't think we read the open meeting law, if you please do that.
Of course. Pursuant to the open meeting law, any person may make an audio or video recording of this public meeting or may transmit the meeting through any medium. Attendees are therefore advised that such recordings or transmissions are being made, whether perceived or unperceived, by those present and are deemed acknowledged and permissible.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, first item on agenda, please.
2025-074, Order Land Disposition Agreement, 1620 Hancock Street.
Motion to move to ordinance?
Motion to move to finance?
Finance?
That would be great.
All right.
Motion to move to finance and advertise, please. All those in favor? Those opposed? Ayes have it. Next item, please, Madam Clerk.
Number 2, 2025-075, an appropriation for $8,250,000 for equipment and capital improvements.
Motion moving to finance?
Motion to move to Finance Committee and advertise, please. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it. Next item, please.
Number 3, 2025-076, a gift for $250 from Assembly to Dare.
Motion to approve?
Motion to approve made by Councilor DeBona, seconded by Councilor McCarthy. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Counselor Ash. Yes. Counselor Campbell. Yes. Counselor Devine. Yes. Counselor DeBona.
Yes.
Counselor Harris. Counselor McCarthy.
Yes.
Counselor Minton. President Kane.
Yes.
8 members.
Thank you. All right, that concludes our regular schedule for tonight. Approval of previous meeting minutes from May 19. Motion to approve made by Councilor Campbell, seconded by Councilor Devine. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it. Communications and reports from the mayor, other city officers, and city boards. Madam Clerk.
I have traffic requests to refer to Ordinance Committee for Advertising, Ward 4, Councilor Devine, remove handicap parking at 65 Lurton Street. And a couple of utility requests to refer to Public Works Committee for scheduling and advertising. Grant of location, National Grid, Verizon, Granite Street and Walter Hannon Parkway. Grant of location, National Grid, Verizon, Elm Street and Edward Street. Grant of location, National Grid, Verizon, Quincy Ave and Faxon Park Road.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Unfinished business and preceding meeting, seeing none. Reports of committees. President recognizes Chair McCarthy.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to go forward and approve a few things in the Finance Committee. 2025-53, appropriation for fiscal 2026 general fund budget. And I make a positive recommendation. Yeah, need me a second.
Okay.
Second?
Positive recommendation for 2025-53, appropriation for the fiscal 2026 general fund budget by Councilor Chair McCarthy, seconded by Councilor DeBona. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Ash.
Yes.
Councilor Campbell.
Yes.
Councilor Devine.
Yes.
Councilor DeBona.
Yes.
Councilor Harris. Yes. Councilor McCarthy.
Yes.
Councilor Minton. Yes. President Kane.
Yes.
Eight members.
Thank you.
Thank you. Also, 2025-54, appropriation fiscal 2026 sewer enterprise budget. I make a positive recommendation.
Positive recommendation for 2025-54 appropriation fiscal 2026 sewer enterprise budget, seconded by Councilor DeBona, seconded by Councilor Harris. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Ash.
Yes.
Councilor Campbell.
Yes.
Councilor Devine.
Yes.
Councilor DeBona.
Yes.
Councilor Harris.
Yes.
Councilor McCarthy.
Yes.
Councilor Minton. President Kane.
Yes.
8 members.
And 2025-55, appropriation fiscal 2026 water enterprise budget. I make a motion, positive recommendation.
Positive recommendation, motion to approve made by Councilor McCarthy for 2025-55 appropriation for fiscal 2026 water enterprise budget, seconded by Councilor DeBona. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Ash.
Yes.
Councilor Campbell.
Yes.
Councilor Devine.
Yes.
Councilor DeBona.
Yes.
Councilor Harris.
Yes.
Councilor McCarthy.
Yes.
Councilor Minton. President Kane.
Yes.
8 members.
All set, Mr. Chair?
While I'm here, I'd like to also, if I could, schedule a Finance Committee meeting on Wednesday, 6/11 at 6:30 PM.
Wednesday, 6/11 at 6:30?
6:30.
Got it.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. Our Ordinance Committee Chair is not here.
I got it right here.
Our second in command is here. Councilor DeBona.
Thank you, Mr. President. A couple of ordinances. These traffic requests were advertised in the Quincy Sun on May 22nd, 2025. We have out of Ward 2, 2025-071, add handicap parking at 32 Lawrence Street. Positive recommendation.
Positive recommendation and motion to approve made by Councilor DeBona for 2024-70, seconded by Councilor McCarthy. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Ash.
Yes.
Councilor Campbell. Councilor Devine. Councilor DeBona.
Yes.
Councilor Harris.
Yes.
Councilor McCarthy.
Yes.
Councilor Minton. President Kane.
Yes.
8 members.
Ward 4, 2025-072, add no parking to the odd side of Bunker Hill Lane from Willard Street to West Street. Positive recommendation.
Positive recommendation and a motion to approve made by Councilor DeBona for 2025-72, seconded by Councilor McCarthy. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Ash.
Yes.
Councilor Campbell.
Yes.
Councilor Devine.
Yes.
Councilor DeBona.
Yes.
Councilor Harris.
Yes.
Councilor McCarthy.
Yes.
Councilor Minton.
Yes.
President Kane.
Yes.
8 members.
Ward 6, 2025-073, add handicap parking at 18 Webster Street. Positive recommendation.
Positive recommendation and a motion to approve made for 2025-73 by Councilor DeBona, seconded by Councilor McCarthy. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Ash.
Yes.
Councilor Campbell.
Yes.
Councilor Devine.
Yes.
Councilor DeBona.
Yes.
Councilor Harris.
Yes.
Councilor McCarthy.
Yes.
Councilor Minton.
Yes.
President Kane.
Yes.
8 members.
Thank you. All set, Mr. Chair. Thank you. Okay, presentation of petitions, memorials, and remonstrance. President recognizes Councilor Campbell.
Thank you, Mr. President. Wanted to send our extended wishes for healing to the Haskins family down in House Neck. They live right down the end of my street. DJ, was 34 years old. He was the son of Doug and Lynn Haskins, and he was a sixth-generation House Neck kid. He was married to his wife Jillian for, I want to say, about 5 years. He had three children, Gavin, Donovan, and Sloan, and he was the uncle of Lennon, who his only sister, Nicole, recently had 5-month-old Lennon. He was an incredible young guy. He went to Atherton Howe, he went to Broadmeadows and Archbishop Williams. He went on to play quarterback and goalie for the lacrosse team, an incredible hockey player, a really good guy, and someone who I really appreciated being in the neighborhood. There was a really great bond that was built in that neighborhood, and they all felt this. And their neighbors became brothers and sisters. There were two boys and 2 girls, the Anastasies and the Haskins, and they were inseparable, and they were great friends. So they were really hit hard by this because DJ, probably the best compliment I could give him was something that his sister said, was that he was unapologetically himself. And I thought that was probably the way that most people would like to be remembered, in that incredible way. So I wanted to extend those feelings and thoughts on behalf of the council and keep them in your prayers if you could. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Campbell. President recognizes Councilor Harris.
Thank you, President Kane. It's with a sad heart in Ward 6 and across many people in Quincy that knew Janet Coughlin. This evening I attended, before coming tonight, I attended her wake, and Janet of Squantum passed away on May 29th, 2025 at home. Wife of the late Jerry Coughlin, daughter of the late Charles and Alice Melvin, cherished mother of Gerard Coughlin Jr. and his wife Melissa of Squantum, Lee Forrest and her husband Richard of Weymouth, and Leslie Coughlin of Squantum, sister of recently departed Peter Melvin, adored grandmother of Kelsey, Jack, and Cole Coughlin, all who live in Squantum, also survived by many nieces and nephews. Janet was born on December 30th of 1941 in Quincy. She married the love of her life, Jerry, on July 6, 1963. Janet and Jerry eventually moved to Squantum and brought up 3 children in a loving and nurturing household. Janet started her career as a nurse at the Blue Hills Regional Tech School in Canton and eventually moved on to work for State Senator Michael Morrison. She loved and excelled at this job, and she was able to interact with and help people as benefit her outgoing personality. Janet was always active in the Squantum community. She was a volunteer for the North Quincy High School Booster Club. Upon her husband's death, Jerry, in 1991, she made sure to provide her children with a safe and loving environment as they reached adulthood. She will be always be remembered for her outgoing and loving personality, and was always available to help family and friends when it was needed. Tomorrow at 11 a.m. at Our Lady of Good Counsel Church in Quincy, will be at 11 a.m. Will be her funeral. So with that, again, our hearts go out to the Coughlin family, and she was quite an incredible woman, and today showed it with the number of people that attended. So thank you, President Kane.
Thank you, Councilor Harris. Anyone else? President recognizes Councilor Ash.
Thank you, President Kane. I would like to similarly extend condolences on behalf of the City Council to the family of Christine Churchill. maiden name Tobin, who passed away on Friday, May 23rd at age 73. She was born in Connecticut and raised in Scituate, attended nursing school in New York, and has lived for the last 48 years in Quincy. Christine was employed as a registered nurse and began her career at Quincy City Hospital before going on to Kearney and later working as a case manager for Blue Cross Blue Shield. She retired from Beth Israel after 12 years of service. Christine is the beloved wife of Richard S. Churchill, Quincy Police Department, retired, and they would have celebrated 50 years of marriage in September. Devoted mother of Robert Churchill and his wife Angela of Fort Myers, Sarah Churchill of Quincy, and Richard S. Churchill Jr. of Quincy. Christine was also the dear sister of Robert Tobin of Plymouth and his late wife Susan, Joseph Tobin of Florida, Mary Quinn and her husband Brian of New Hampshire, and the late Barbara Colleran. If folks know the Churchill family and would like to pay their respects, the visiting hours are tomorrow, June 3rd, from 4 to 7 p.m. at Sweeney Brothers Home for Funerals, 1 Independence Ave, funeral mass at St. John's, 10 a.m. on Wednesday morning. So my and our condolences to the Churchill family. Good friends of many of ours, I'm sure, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilor Esch. President recognizes Councilor DeBono.
Thank you, Mr. President. It was a heavy heart with the Matthew Stewart passing. He suddenly passed away at his home on Monday, May 19th. Grew up here in Quincy to marry Elizabeth Bertrand Stewart and Grant Raymond Stewart. Grew up in a military family, and the eldest of 8. Matt was a big Celtics fan, and he loved the city of Presence, living here in Quincy. He really enjoyed the bonfires in Wellfleet and the joy of Dunkin' Donuts coffee. He's above all, Matt's greatest love was his family, most especially his 3 boys, Jack, Leo, and Max, who he raised lovingly with his wife, Danielle. He'll be profoundly missed by Danielle and his boys, his parents, his 7 siblings, in-laws, nieces, nephews, aunts, uncles, and many cousins and friends. It's a very big family. Nothing made Matty happier than his family affair, and most especially a white Christmas. Just want to say my condolences to the Stewart family, who was a very part of the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor DeBono. Okay, motions, orders, and resolutions. Seeing none. Scheduling of committee meetings and public hearings. We just scheduled a Finance Committee meeting for Wednesday, June 11 at 6:30 p.m. And then our next City Council meeting is Monday, June 16 at 6:40. But we have an Ordinance Committee meeting for transit-oriented districts at 6:30, and the continuation of the HDIP order at 6:35 before the council meeting. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Thank you, Councilor Campbell. All those in favor? Those opposed?
Okay.
Meeting adjourned.
Thank you.